Hi, I am Ron Wilkie, your cybersecurity quarterback, PMP, CSSP, and I'm here basically to shed a little light on digital forensics, digital footprinting, techniques, schemes, and basically I will just talk about it. I'm not going to show you a whole bunch of slides. This is a quick video. Maybe I'll make follow-up videos depending on the demand, but I'll just go right into it because it seems as if some on television that talk about the subject may not have a full grasp of the information. Either that or they don't want to reveal classified information, which I understand, but there is a way to talk about things without giving away all of your secrets. And that's what I want to do today, is to basically shed a little light on cybersecurity, hacking, digital footprinting, and tracking known people who use these techniques. All right, because you'll see a lot of times they'll say, we don't know that this group did it, or we don't know anybody could have done it. Anybody could have used these IP addresses. Anybody could have hopped from, region to region, or IP address to IP address, and that's true. But there are techniques to track, and there are certain things that we do know so that we can identify known assailants if we put all our resources to finding those individuals or groups responsible for some of those hacks. So let's just talk about each one of these and what can be done and how it's being used to manipulate the information that's being logged in on computers. So the first thing that happens when a hack takes place is that there should be some type of audit. And when I say audit, I mean some type of examining of logs to show who was in the system and when they were in the system. How did they get in? What did they use to get in the system? So the first thing you'll find is that most of the time hackers come in by using malware. They will send an email to someone, and that email, and I've talked about this in other videos, that email will be used, the user will click on it and basically run a code in the background of their computer they don't know about, thinking that what they've just opened is not malicious, but indeed it is. So the first thing you want to do is identify the malware code. And when you find that code and how they got in, is to examine that code. And most of the time that code is a remote code execution in which the hacker on his side, no matter his or her side, wherever they are located, they can actually go in and look at different files on your computer. They can put files on your computer as well, executable files as well to run. So you want to identify the malware and look at the remote code execution that was used. And when you do that, there are certain patterns that reveal itself. Now, most people will say, well, anybody can look at those codes or use those codes, which is true. There are codes that are published that anybody can buy. I can go out and buy some right now. That doesn't mean that I created it, but I can go out and buy it. So how is that malware introduced into the network? Like I said, it's usually via an email. It could be a flash drive in which at that point there will be an entry point on the computer that will show how that malware got into that computer and then into the network or to the system. So what you want to do at that point is to look and find how it got into the system. Most of the time it's email. So let's say we go back to the email. So a good hacker or a good group of hackers will have fake email addresses, and there are temporary email addresses that are created. You can create an email address that only lasts for 5 minutes. These services are out there and they're free. So that's probably what has happened. But once you identify the fake email address, then through our known databases of fake email address creation, we can identify to, let's say, 20 different accounts or services that produce this. Then we can start to look at the entry nodes and exit nodes that come in from those accounts. And then once you do that, you can start to build a story of IP addresses, build a story of other email addresses. And usually this is not the first time that has happened. A lot of times there are repeat emails that have gone out. Maybe the first time it didn't work. Maybe the second time it didn't work. Maybe the fifth time it didn't work. No one clicked on it in the organization. Maybe the 10th time they did. So there will be a history. And you can use this history to also to track those entry and exit nodes that have been compromised by intelligence agencies to know where they came from. So as an example, when you log into your computer and enter the internet by clicking on, connecting to your Wi-Fi and clicking on Internet Explorer or Chrome, you then go from an entry node on your side to an exit node on the other side of your provider. So what a lot of the hackers will try to do is they will purchase a VPN. A VPN is a virtual private network. A lot of you all who work in corporate America know that you may log into your corporate network via a VPN. That's a virtual private network. So when that happens, your provider of the internet, they may not actually know where you're going and where you are surfing and what you are doing, because it is now private. You're on a private network. So a lot of hackers will use these private networks. And not just that, but they'll also use something called Tor. So Tor, the Onion router, I think, basically it's a private way to surf as well. So not only will they use VPN, they'll use Tor, but what they don't realize is that Tor's exit nodes have been compromised, and a lot of intelligence agencies know who's coming and who's going via those exit nodes. And they have created a lot of those exit nodes that are being used. So that's another way that hackers can be tracked and how they are being tracked without giving away too much information. And also a bit of lower tech. I have on here monitoring radio frequencies. So in these areas, once the IP addresses have been, not IP addresses, but once the location has been found, the general location, you still don't necessarily know, but there are radio frequencies that are being monitored. So good hackers, good people, good spies, espionage, they don't really use these systems as much. I'm talking about computer systems to send information. So they're going to send information different types of ways. So they're going to be certain radio frequencies that they're going to use, and they're going to use a different language, whether it's coding or whether it's a speech, or a cipher, right? So I'll just let you know these are being monitored. So when you tell the entire story, when you see the entire story of everything I just mentioned, and it points to a particular place at a particular time that's already being monitored, you can tell the story and say this group or even this person is responsible for this type of hack. And I mentioned history earlier. A lot of times that there's history of this person using these same techniques. So yes, I may purchase some type of malware, but I may use a different VPN, or I may use a different fake email creation, or I may use a different IP. I may be coming from a different IP. So the Tor I use may be at a different time of day, because you have daylight saving times, East Coast, West Coast. You have different time zones around the world. So when you tell the story, you can then pinpoint where the hacks are coming from. So in a nutshell, I just wanted to let you all know. I know usually my presentations have more examples, but I saw this on TV. I saw a lot of people talking about things that they didn't really understand. And so if you're Googling and you want to know what it's about, I'm glad that you found my video so I could briefly run through some of these things. There are other techniques that are being used. And if you have any questions, just feel free to comment on this video. Thank you for watching.